yeah. Alrighty.
Last pod we talked about every time you sit down that you make a lot of old man noises.
Yep.
And today I hear it.
You heard it, yep.
Now I'm conscious of it.
Oh, yes. Yes, that is true. I did do that. Are we jumping right into it?
We're jumping right
We're
into
jumping right into it. Happy podcast day, guys. I don't know, whenever this drops, it's probably Monday, if you're watching on Monday.
Yeah. Well, welcome, guys, to the Fi Guys podcast. We are the guides towards financial independence and wealth building. And, today we're going to be talking about something very important, and that is going to be mastering wealth with one simple equation.
I love it. I love simplicity.
Simplicity is key.
It's the easiest. But before we get into that, let's talk about our week.
You tell me first about your week, and then I'll go.
All right. So this one's going to be pretty recent. I drove here today right after stream, and I was getting my stuff together, getting ready, going. I get to Chris's house, and I forget the charger to the camera. So we have to drive back, and right next to my house, like on the final house on the block, I guess you'd say, this new neighbor just moved in last week, has the most insane Halloween decorations I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you saw it.
Oh yeah, I did.
It was there was one, it was like a 15-foot tall skeleton. 15, was it 15? Maybe.
Yeah, I remember there's at Costco a few years ago. But yeah, so they had that. The moment we pulled up to Dom's house, I was looking down the road. I'm like, is that a giant wolf man, like 6 houses down? And he's like, yes, just wait till we leave and we're going to stop by it.
Yes, dude, it was crazy. I mean, and we drove past it, and the guy has like a tent in his front yard, and he's just like power saw. He's like, is there building more stuff for the Halloween? So. Yeah. That's
people get into it.
People get into it. And honestly, it was weird because it was like, damn, I kind of want to get more into Halloween now.
Well, to be fair, to each his own. I noticed that he was an older man, so I'm assuming he's retired. So maybe he's reached FI and he gets to do whatever the heck he wants to do.
Exactly. That's the perks of FI right there, boys. I love that. Well, should we? Your week?
Yeah, sure. This week. I went out to San Diego to see my family. My grandma isn't doing super well, so we went up and visited her for a day. Then we went down to, she lives in Arrowhead, California. Then we went down, spent a day with my parents down in San Diego. We were going to do a 4-day week, but we actually had to cut it down. And the reason for that is last pod, we talked about how my wife and I got ourselves into a little bit of debt. So, again, simple equation we're going to talk about more about today. We can either make more money, reduce expenses. So we're actually going to focus on the making more money part. So we had to come back a day early so that we could my wife could pick up an extra shift at the hospital, which brings us in substantially more money. And I could get back to work a little bit sooner than doing vacation. So making those necessary sacrifices and most importantly, taking ownership of our lives when we make a mistake.
Awesome.
Rather than lamenting and saying this isn't fair, we do something about it.
Yeah, it's like you were telling me in the car ride. You had a Jocko thing you wanted to talk about for today. Do you want to mention that now?
Or we'll talk about that later.
We'll save that later. All right. Just remember, keyword extreme ownership. That's the key.
That is the key. Especially, remember, it's all about your habits and your money psychology. But today we are going to be talking again about mastering wealth building with one simple equation. This is Unit 4 of the FI Crash Course. If you haven't listened to the first 3, please go back and listen to those if you like to complete things. If you're someone that just likes to jump right in wherever you start, go ahead and just continue listening. But yeah, we're going to do some key takeaways for increasing your income, reducing your spending. I know on the last pod we talked a lot about debt, which reduces your spending. We're going to talk a little bit more about different ways to reduce spending. And then everyone's favorite thing is, how can I make more money?
Exactly. Money is the key to make us get to our financial number faster.
Yep. Money on both sides of the equation, though. Making more money, saving more money, they both work in. And I always like to talk about control what you can control. You can control your savings rate to the best of your ability. You can't always just make more money immediately.
Yeah.
Not everyone has the ability to just pick up shifts or work a little bit harder.
Exactly. So let's get right into the equation that we're talking about. The simple equation, we might add. Simple equation for building wealth. Income minus expenses equals savings. Got that right?
Pretty much.
Pretty simple.
And then income is anything that brings money into your pocket. Expenses, anything that takes money out of your pocket.
I love it. And then we have the savings.
Then we have the savings. And the savings are also known as the gap, what I like to call it as the driver of FI. Without that savings, doesn't matter how much money you're making, doesn't matter how much money you're spending, or I guess it does, but if you're making $1 million and you're spending $1 million, guess what?
Nothing.
You might be rich, but you are not wealthy.
No.
If there's a guy who's making $30,000, but they're only spending $15,000, they're saving $15,000 and having it invested in the market, they might not be rich right now, but they certainly will be wealthy.
Yeah, definitely. Like savings, it has the biggest effect on you, you know, in so many different ways. You know, if you can't save up for tomorrow, then you won't have anything for tomorrow, you know? And like we talked about last podcast, like anxiety is built from stress, you know, getting your money in order, it helps every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Like I love this quote. It's like, I've been rich and I've been poor, but at least when I have money, you know, I can solve problems easier because I'm always going to have problems, you know, but having more money solves more problems faster.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit more on what things actually do drive happiness in terms of money. But exactly what you said there, you know, being able to have, you know, I think there's an old adage, more money, more problems.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really true. Like,
no, it's really not.
It's really not. I mean, if you have more and more money past a certain point, does it really increase more stress? Probably a little bit, probably not. I don't know. But definitely having enough money will take away a lot of the concerns of day-to-day living. Is that anxiety of, oh my gosh, like if something comes down the pipe, we're done.
We're done.
And then being able to, like we talked about last time, just having a small crisis fund, right?
I love the crisis fund.
Yeah, no one talks about the crisis fund. Everybody talks about the emergency fund. You say 6 months of savings. Everyone goes, I can't save up 6 months. I'm done. I quit.
Yeah.
But you do a crisis fund. You say $1,000, and you can say, if something happens, I have that grill off my back of knowing we'll be okay, even just for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a good way to start.
Yeah, and you know, if you can put it in a high yield savings account that allows you to have access to the money where there's no like minimum, you know, number in the balance, you know, in the account, that's a great way because, you know, you put 1,000 in and it grows over time. And it's like with inflation, you know, you're going to want it to grow. You know, I have like, for me, it's like I love keeping cash on hand. I just love the feeling of cash. But it's not outpacing inflation, you know, but if I had it in a high yield savings account, which is one of the things I'm going to talk about for our win of the week.
Okay.
I'm definitely looking into putting my crisis fund into a high yield savings account to just, you know, not beat the market, but just keep up with the market, you know?
Yeah, I think that's something, maybe I'll talk about that right now. You know, my emergency savings, it actually doesn't sit in a bank account.
No.
My emergency savings actually sits at Vanguard in my just normal non-qualified account, my taxable account, but I sit it in either cash because the money market account of Vanguard, if it's sitting in cash, actually has a high yield savings component.
Nice.
So it's actually getting me a return. Or worst comes to worst, I'll put it into a money market account. Right now I have a Vanguard account that I'm using for a lot of my clients who want to sit in cash. It's actually paying 4.5 or to 5% per year.
It's pretty good.
In cash, and it's 100% liquid. I mean, there's never an emergency that says there are very few emergencies that says I need cash right literally now.
A second, yeah.
But you know, if my
You almost had a situation like that the last podcast.
Oh, the policia.
Yeah. We might have to be a little extra liquid with the money. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, go back to the last podcast. Chris has a heck of a story. He got arrested. Not arrested. He got arrested.
I got detained.
He got pulled over and detained and searched by the Mexican police in Mexico. And Chris doesn't speak a lick of Spanish.
Nope, I look like it, but I don't.
And it's a good story. It's a good story. It cracked my mom up. She was laughing. I walked into the kitchen. I'm like, wait, what's going on? She's like, oh, that Chris story was so funny. Him getting pulled over. She's like, that's scary, but it was funny.
It was
good.
That was a poop your pants kind of moment. But yeah, I mean, those situations of getting pulled over by the police and getting a little shakedown, it doesn't happen super often. But what does happen is like I have an emergency, but I have 24 hours, a week, 2 weeks to be able to pay it off. So that's the nice thing about having that cash, even though it's not readily available, it is still very readily available.
Absolutely, and I think the crisis fund is definitely, it's more doable. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying to screw the emergency fund. We don't need an emergency fund. We have a crisis fund. No, you should. It's baby steps. Let's get the crisis fund.
The crisis fund will eventually become the emergency fund.
Oh, okay. You think so? Do you just? So I'm curious how you have it set up in your world. Like for me, I plan on having a crisis fund, and I already have an emergency fund. So they're two separate funds.
Okay, sure.
Or do you have them as one? Just because
I have it as one, just because there's never a time for me that I'm thinking I'm going to need both those things. Because I also have credit cards, and I know I can always put something on a credit card and extend it out a month.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, this is what makes personal finance personal, and this is the part where I don't like when I will watch things and I'll hear these financial figureheads speak to us from upon high, telling us, this is what you must do. We're talking about Dave Ramsey, Susie Irwin, whatever it is, Robert Kiyosaki. They're telling us this is how you must live your life. There's no right or wrong way. It's all personal. Do what you think is best. We're here to give you different tools, different objective ways of looking at things. But my way is different than Dom's way, which is different from your way, which is different than Dave Ramsey's way. But they all work.
Yeah.
Given that you're willing to commit to it, and continue to keep going.
Absolutely. You just have to find your way. It's like anything else in life. You just gotta find which way that works for you. It's like, it just makes sense, and make it fun, make it a game, make it entertaining. For me, I love having like a giant spreadsheet and be like, oh, I have X amount over here, I have X amount over here, X amount over here, and we separate the, I'm a real nerdy like that. I love getting into the numbers of things, but you don't have to be that nerdy to really have a handle on it.
I used to be really nerdy about it, just like that, and then one of my biggest values in life is simplicity. So, I really have made everything pretty much automated. I have something called a conscious spending plan where I know how much money is going to go in and go out. So there shouldn't really be that much of an issue as long as I'm just keeping up and watching it. Occasionally I'm going to screw up like I did a little while ago by spending too much to go on all these trips. But what do you do when you have an issue? You make a plan, you stick to the plan, you get the plan, you get it figured out. You don't lament and say, oh, this isn't fair, I can't do anything about it. You got to work on it. But that's going to bring us, I guess, back to our equation, right?
Absolutely.
Increase or income minus expenses.
Yep.
Derives your FI number. So I say we focus first off on the increasing your income.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, and then we'll talk about the other part, the more controllable part. Are there any strategies that you like to use, Dom, for maybe increasing your income?
Well, for me, I've always fallen in love with stocks. I love stocks. It's funny, before we started, I was checking my Discord for my people, my community and stuff, and we have some viewers that actually aren't from America.
Okay.
So the one I was showing you who was watching our podcast on his TV, he's actually from, I think, Australia. So
cool.
Right, down under. So, but yeah, no, for me, I love stocks. I love researching stocks. I love betting on stocks. I love investing in stocks. I love all of that, and for me, that's a great way to make extra money. But also, if you're not into stocks or, your cash is tied up, you can't do stocks all day, You maybe could, but you don't have to. The gig economy is so big these days.
Yeah.
And what was the number that we said in the study? It's in our notes here.
Yeah, it's
1.2 trillion.
$1.2 trillion of money was added to the economy from freelance contributors in 2020. We all remember what happened in 2020. Everyone's job basically got kaputzed for a while.
I got let go.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I never stopped working during it, so I was very lucky in that nothing ever changed. Nothing changed for me, and that's before I became an independent advisor. But yeah, I remember it was really scary. I actually remember an employee of mine. He came to me one morning and he was like distraught. This guy had a wife, kids. He was the sole provider, and he was just so scared. And I remember sitting there and I was like, well, it's a good thing that I'm your boss because I love finance. So let's talk about coming up with a plan. And we were able to help him out. And just by showing him that there's a plan, I think anxiety comes from not having a plan or not knowing what to do. So once you have a plan, you just feel so much better. Like, this is what I have to do. But now you just got to stick to it and actually get the damn thing done.
Yeah. You fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Love it.
Yeah. Shout out to my mom's quote.
Shout out to Mom.
If I don't give her credit, I'm going to hear about it. So shout out to her.
So have you ever done anything at the gig economy for yourself?
Funny that you say that. It's funny. So when I was at my job during the pandemic, I didn't think they were going to hire me. I was an intern, but I didn't think they were going to hire me. So I was like, well, I got to do something. So I just ended up starting my own company. And then they hired me. I was like, well, this is interesting. So I would work my 9 to 5 there. And then after, I would work from 5:30 to 10 at night. And then I would drive home. So I would be working 2 jobs. So in a way, it was kind of like a gig economy, but I just started my own recording studio.
Okay. So
it's funny that because during that time, there was an increase in entrepreneurship by 74%.
Yep.
And I love that. I love the entrepreneurial spirit. And everyone in my family has been a business owner at one point or another.
Wow.
So it's definitely like it's in my blood. So it's like I gotta do it. I gotta do it. And I have multiple businesses now, and you have your business, and I love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. I definitely recommend anybody to, I'm not saying go start an LLC and like be official and everything like that, but it's cool to just be the seller in a market where everyone is a buyer.
Yeah, that definitely is cool. I mean, unlike you, that's really cool that you actually came from a family of entrepreneurs because, like you said, it was in your DNA and you knew that you could do it. I didn't come from that. So for me, I remember when I started my own LLC and I actually kind of did it, everything was so foreign and new and it was so scary because that was not a part of my life. But now I can call myself an entrepreneur. I can call myself a business owner, a CEO, a president, all those things. And it got to be added to my identity. And now that I know I can do it again, and I can teach people how to do it.
Absolutely.
And it's not as scary as we make it out to be.
No.
But we just have to, again, what's the problem? This is what I want. This is what I need to do. Here are some solutions. Here's a plan. Drop the plan. Execute the plan. Get it done.
Absolutely. And one thing I found that was so interesting was I never really wanted to start a business, but my good friend from college, Philip, he was moving into a commercial studio space, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And what was interesting about that is he moved into one spot, and I was like, would it be cool if I moved in right next door to you?
Okay.
So we moved in both. We both had 2 commercial spots in this building, and our offices were there, our studios were there. It was really cool. And it's funny enough, if you go back on my Dominic James channel on YouTube, you'll see the studio. I vlogged all of it. Like that's how I got into YouTube. But having someone there who's already done it or is doing it with you makes it so much easier. And that's what I love about like this podcast, this channel, is that we're doing it with you. We're credit card hacking. We're talking about high yield savings accounts. We're doing the debt avalanche stuff. We're increasing our income with gig economy stuff. Like we're right here with you.
Shoot, we're building a community on Facebook, on Instagram, and all the things. I mean, like you just said there, if you don't know where you're going, go with someone who's already done that. One of the big reasons that we started this podcast is because you and I met. And I think at my old office, and you said, Chris, the way you talk, maybe you should start a podcast. And I went, haha, funny, Dominic.
Yeah.
And I think we met again later, and I was like, hey, you were serious about that. I don't know how to do it. Do you want to do it together?
Yeah.
And you were gracious enough to say and here we are today.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, because I've been wanting to. I used to talk a lot about finance on my main channel, where I do like book reviews and stuff like that. And funny enough, I think I did do a book review on extreme ownership.
Heck yeah.
Ding ding. But getting back on topic, with the gig economy, we're talking about what would you consider is gig economy? Like Uber stuff,
DoorDash
freelance stuff.
Yeah, freelance stuff, anything that basically has like an app equated to it. Or,
like Fiverr and stuff like that.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I would also maybe separate that from side hustles. Like a side hustle could be
flipping stuff.
Yeah, an entrepreneurial venture. That could be a side hustle. Just maybe even getting a part-time job could do that. Of course, getting a part-time job and holding down a normal job, that's not really sustainable.
No.
But it could do for like a section of life, maybe if you're trying to get out of debt or you really want to supercharge this path to FI. But another thing we can do is, if you already have a job, focus on trying to get a pay increase.
Yeah.
I mean, there are studies that show that people that actually try to negotiate their salaries, on average, have an increase of 5 to 10%. That's huge.
Absolutely. And you almost have to be necessary to move to a different company. I know one person, not personally, but I've heard stories of this woman that I respect. She's an entrepreneur. She would enter a job, and she'd apply for 2 jobs. They would compete their offer for, oh, hey, Chris, I got an offer for, 80,000 here. Can you match that? Cool. Take that offer, go back over here to, the other company. I got an offer for 80,000. Can you match this or do better? And back and forth. And then they would stay at the company for 2 years and say, hey, I've been here for 2 years. I've been a loyal worker. I've been efficient. I've been top of my class. All that fun stuff. What is the higher paying threshold that I could reach? And if you've capped out, well, it's time to move on to the next job. And then, rinse and repeat. And this person ended up getting what was initially like a $60,000 job. Eventually, she got up to where it was like $200,000.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, just by asking.
Wow.
And like
that is more than a 3 times increase.
Yeah, exactly. And it's going to be a no if you don't ask.
Yeah.
So might as well ask. You got nothing to lose.
I think what a lot of people fear is they're like, if I go and I ask my boss, can I get a raise? Or what can I do? I think that's immediately the wrong way to go about it. You shouldn't go to your boss and say, I want a raise.
No.
You should go to the boss with all of the things that you have done that deserve you a raise.
Yeah.
You know, show them all the value that you add. No, not walking in there saying, I demand this because I am me and I am special.
The entitlement will reek.
Yes, it will reek. It's just terrible. But if you are actually working, also another big thing is looking at what do others get paid for doing in the same role. Having that knowledge is huge because it backs you and lets you know that when you go and you have this conversation with your boss, that this is the going rate. And I know this as a fact.
Yeah. Yeah, those transparency laws in some states are very helpful to see the different ranges for the job at hand. But talking about like another thing, there's free money on the table.
Yes.
With retirement accounts.
Yeah, there's free money on the table that unfortunately a lot of people just leave there. If you have a job, and I know that only, unfortunately, 33% of people that work a full-time job or have benefits actually have access to a 401k. But if you have access to a 401k or any employer-sponsored retirement plan, you know, that can include a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a TSP. All of those accounts have usually a component that they will match you to a certain percentage.
Yeah.
So if you were to put in, say, 3% of your salary to go to your 401k or to your retirement sponsored plan, your employer will also match that 3%. So if you don't take advantage and put money in for your retirement, your employer is no longer obligated to also match you there. You're leaving free money on the table. It's part of your benefits. It's there.
Yeah. Like I always say, like for me, it just made sense to max out your retirement, your 401k, all that stuff as much as you can. You know? It's free money.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's free money up to the point of the match. After that, you might be able to look at the IRA or other ways, and that's part of the complexities of financial planning and making sure that whatever is done right for you. Because again, personal finance is personal. Everyone is going to be a little bit different. There is no one size fits all. No.
Exactly. And it also helps, you know, to reduce your expenses. You know, because that's the other part of the simple, simple wealth building, you know, formula. How much you make, what are your expenses, what you got left.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Yeah, and another thing that I like about the 401k, the 457, is it begins to build this savings muscle, and it's almost like a forced savings because the money goes away before it even hits your paycheck.
Yeah.
So say you make $1,000 and you're contributing 2%, or let's say we make $100, you're contributing 2%. Your paycheck when it gets to you is only going to have $98. So you're never going to even feel that extra $2. And then you remember, you just keep on build on that. Go from 2% to 3% to 4% to 5%. Yep. And that's how you're going to really get there. Because sometimes people will say, oh, you need to save 20%. And if you have no idea what a 20% hit's going to do to your income, you're probably not going to do it. But if I say try saving 2%, you're like, oh, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Start at 2. And if you see my life hasn't changed much, go to 3, go to 4, go to 5 until you find your max threshold.
Baby steps, you know, and the simple things are usually the easiest to do. And I think that's doable.
It is doable. And remember, when you contribute to a 401k and your employer matches you, that is 100% return on your investment. Immediately there. Remember, there are vesting schedules. We've talked about that in previous podcasts, so go ahead and take a listen back on those ones. But with vesting schedules, you have to oftentimes stay at an employer for a certain amount of time in order for you to be eligible to retain that match that they gave you.
Okay.
Yeah, but just don't leave free money on the table and really start building those muscles, saving muscles.
The goal is to get, you know, to your FI number, financial independence number, as fast as possible.
Yeah, and a huge part of that is, I mean, one large part of the equation is your income.
Yeah.
So increase that in any way that you possibly can.
Absolutely. And talking about the other side of that income, or the other side of that equation, and that's expenses, you know, money going out. I love that. I love that little motion. Money coming in, money going out. Expenses, you know, liabilities almost. But we'll keep it to expenses.
Yeah.
So decreasing your expenses are also a major player in getting to your financial number, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the other side of the equation, right? If A plus B or A minus B and this equals C, you know, we really need to focus on both the A and the B to be able to achieve financial independence. You know, and that's what we talked about last time when we were talking about debt and mindless spending.
Yeah.
You know, I think last time we talked about Amazon and my 3-day rule that I like to, if you put any...
Yeah, you want to explain it?
I'll explain it. So Amazon is just It's amazing. I love Amazon, but it's made it almost too easy to shop and too easy to needlessly spend. So what I've enacted for my wife and I is if you want something and it's not an immediate need, if it's a want, you have to be mindful with yourself and tell yourself this is a want, not a need. I don't need shoes all the time unless my shoes literally have holes in them. You know, I have a 3-day rule. So you put it into the cart. After 3 days, if you still want it, you can get it. What we're trying to do is try to bridge that little bit of a gap. Amazon pays millions and millions of dollars on marketers to try to make this as simple and as streamlined a process as you can. I mean, even YouTube does it. Every single one where they're trying to just stop you from thinking. That's why YouTube has it automatic playing right after a video so that you don't have to make a decision. It's already done for you. So by you interjecting a little bit between, I think it's Viktor Frankl. Have you ever read A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl?
Oh, I haven't.
Well, it's a really good book, but what he talks about, one of his biggest things is between stimulus and response, there is a gap. So between stimulus, I want this, and between the response of I'm going to get it, there is a gap in there that you can interject yourself mindfully and say, do I really need this? And that simple act of mindfully spending has been shown to reduce spending dramatically. For individuals just by mindfully spending. I think it's able to reduce from, where do I have it in my notes here, down by 22% of your spending just by spending mindfully.
Interesting. Yeah, I think definitely, it's almost a muscle.
It is a muscle.
It's 100% a muscle, that you have to train. Because, it's like, and be smart about your decisions too. Like, we all know that you shouldn't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, and we've all done it.
Oh, yeah.
We've all done it so many times. But being mindful is so key because you don't want to overspend. You don't want to, the more you spend, the more you have to make. And I don't know about you guys. You guys might like your job, might not like your job, but it's not fun wasting money. No, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel.
And I know a lot of people, what they do is, if you know your spending triggers, I think that's really important.
Yeah.
Because, for my family, what I saw is like people would stress buy. So like, oh, I'm stressed out, and then they go to Target to make them, because you feel sad, you're looking for that dopamine hit. Well, buying those new set of shoes or whatever, that's going to give me that little win that gets me enough just to feel good about myself, and then it's immediately like a hangover that comes back and it's like, damn it, now I'm in the red. It's just like I think Bill Cosby has a stand-up on it where he talks about, you've worked so hard this entire week, and you've worked from Monday to Friday. Well, on Friday, that's your job to go and let loose. You go and you get super wasted. You have so much fun on Friday, but then on Saturday and Sunday, you're recovering so that by Monday you can make it back to your job saying, oh, thank God, I'm back to my work.
Yeah. You can finally relax and get back to your work.
Yeah, there's consequences to every action.
Absolutely. And the American household spends about $73,000 per year on various expenses. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And that's the average.
That's the average, yeah. And what we all know about averages is there's probably a lot of people spending a lot more.
Yeah,
that's skewing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. But there is some happiness studies, because what we just talked about there a second ago is people try to spend money to make themselves momentarily happy, and then eventually, I like to call this the hedonic treadmill.
Okay.
Of you're constantly trying to strive to get something better. The moment that you get that, your baseline happiness typically reverts back within 10 minutes to 10 months, depending on the price of the thing that you purchase. And now you're trying to, again, search for another thing that's going to bring you that little dopamine hit, that another thing of joy. So I did some research. There is a doctor I think it's her, she's at Yale maybe. Her name is Dr. Laurie Santos, and she's actually the #1 researcher in happiness studies. So she has a course on the pursuit of happiness, which is super cool. But she's actually broken it down to say what things actually do bring the most joy. #1 is experiences.
Yeah, trips, stuff like that. Well, it doesn't even have to be trips. Like, hey, I've never tried sushi before. You want to go try sushi? Like, that's an experience,
Yeah, experiences, but most importantly, experiences with others.
Yeah.
Where you get to make memories together.
Yeah.
And we like to call them memory dividends
I
here.
love it.
Because those memory dividends, they're going to stay with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That you're there. The second thing that spending money on, that actually brings happiness is buying back your time.
Yeah, that's huge.
So autonomy.
Huge.
If you're someone that hates cleaning your house, hates doing the laundry, hates doing
Buying groceries.
buying groceries, all that stuff. Buying back your time for more time to spend with others or to do things that truly bring you joy is the number two for bringing people actual happiness through spending money.
Absolutely. And, that's one of the things my family has done rather recently is we had like a whole year pass for our grocery store's fries, if you guys don't have that in your area. But all of our groceries gets delivered.
Oh, cool.
So cool. So much nicer because, like, I don't like going to the grocery store. There's nothing about and have you been to the fries, right?
Yeah, I was there yesterday. Yeah.
Such a cool fries. Like, it's cool. It has, like, a wine bar, a sushi bar.
Yeah, and they actually give free tastings, too.
Yeah. It's got cheese bar. It's a crazy place, I'd rather be recording the podcast.
Yeah.
I'd rather just be doing this. I'd rather be podcasting, recording, streaming, content stuff that I love, So buying back my time for groceries that might take 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week or multiple sessions a week, it just makes the most sense.
Yeah, you also get a double whammy by doing that too. And that most people, stores are strategically designed in order to make the person spend the most amount of money. So, but you never going inside the store, you're looking maybe at a shopping list or something like that and saying, these are the things we need. And you're not going in there going, I also want gummy bears. Ooh, that looks good too.
Yeah.
You're not doing all that. You're just purchasing from a list. You don't actually have to see it in person. That's maybe causing you a little bit of angst. So that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And I know off the podcast, Chris and I were talking about ChatGPT. With like the paid version of ChatGPT, you can connect it to apps, and I think you can connect it to Instacart and have just tell it to be like, hey, I'm hosting a Super Bowl party. Just order me some Super Bowl party stuff.
Yeah.
And have it arrive at tomorrow at 11, and apparently it'll just do it.
It's what we hoped Siri would have been.
Oh my god, dude, it's so true.
Or Cortana. It's what we hoped Siri and Cortana were going to be.
I wish Cortana would have worked out because I love Halo.
Oh, me too. Me too. I wanted it to work out so well, but it was just
it makes
so bad.
me so sad. And Siri, man, I can't ask her simple questions.
No.
I was like, set me a timer. She's like, I'll set you a timer for 8 o'clock. I was like, I set a 20-minute timer. What are you talking?
I remember that call this person, and then it would call Donald Glover, and it was like, call mom. And it's like, damn it, this is not what I asked for.
Yeah.
But back to it.
the topic.
Really, there are only 3 things that Dr. Laurie Santos found that actually do meaningfully move the needle, and the third one is helping others.
That's the biggest one.
Spending money on others. I know, I'm not very religious, but I know for religious people, tithing is a big thing, and I know it actually does really bring joy to people. My wife and I, we donate every year to the Underground Railroad that helps to free children from sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Those are things that are really meaningful, especially for Mons on Wealth too, for the business. It's always important to me to give back to the community and try to help people as much as I can.
Always.
And every time that we have drives or things like that, a lot of it's my time, a lot of it is my money. But when I get to go home at night, I sleep like a baby on those days.
Yeah, helping people is good. It's good for the soul. It's good for the community. And, it's interesting. That's why we're doing this. We're in the business of helping people. That's what your services are. That's what I do in my world. The whole podcast is just to help you guys. We're not even selling anything. We have nothing to sell you guys. No. It's just to help you guys. We do love podcasting. We do. It's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. We love messing with the green screen. We might put up some Halloween decorations for.
This isn't a green screen. This is totally.
I'm sorry.
This is so real.
This is real. This is super real. We're not in space anymore. But yeah, no, we were talking. We were like, we should do some Halloween decorations, pumpkins and stuff, maybe Christmas stuff during Christmas time. But anyway, the third thing for happily, what brings you joy for the psychology of money, definitely helping people is huge.
Yeah. So experiences, autonomy, helping others. Those are the big 3s that actually move the needle on bringing you joy through spending money. Because I think we can all say buying that new dress or buying that new shirt, buying those new pants, whatever it is, even buying that new car.
Yeah.
Does it bring you joy? Yeah, for a little while. But eventually you get back down to that hedonic treadmill or that baseline level of happiness, and now you need another hit.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, I've been recently wanting to get a Tesla.
Okay.
I know, it's bad purchase.
Which model do you want?
They're all so ugly.
Really?
I'm not.
You don't like them?
I'm not a big fan.
Then why do you want it?
They're so cool. They're so fast. Okay, so they're kind of ugly, but
I disagree. I like them, but
you
okay.
like them? Okay. To me, I feel like they're a little bit ugly, but they're ugly because I always see them in like the same white, black, and like blue colors. And like if I was gonna get one, I'd get in like matte green.
There's one around here that looks.
Is there?
Yeah,
I'll be looking out the window.
yeah, there's one
looking for
around
it.
here.
I would probably get the Model Y because every car I've ever had in my family has always been like a car that sits low to the ground. And just once, like your truck, I'd
Yeah.
love to be like a little bit higher up where I could see things. That, and apparently there's some camping modifications you can do with it.
Well, why don't you wait for the Cybertruck to come out?
Dude, I love the Cybertruck.
You?
I almost pre-ordered it.
Well, I'm glad you didn't give Elon Musk a free $100.
I know. I almost pre-ordered it. I talked to Bronwyn about that. I was like, should I pre-order the Cybertruck? She's like, why? You don't even have that much money to buy a Cybertruck. I was like, it's psychologically. Give me the motivation to get it. So I work hard. I didn't pre-order it. But yeah, you know, it's interesting, like the psychology, getting back to like what we were talking about. The reason I don't want it, there's a few reasons why I don't want to get the Tesla. And one of the reasons is I know I'm going to get it. I'm going to be super excited about it. I'm going to love it for months, maybe even years, you know, and I might always love it. But that hit of dopamine, it's just in here. You know, I don't drive anywhere. I drive to the gym, and I drive here to the podcast. That's pretty much it, you know. I work from home, get my groceries delivered. You know, like there's
That's why you're so pale. You never have to go
I
outside.
don't, you know, I supplement vitamin D. I don't need to see the sun. You know, let's close these blinds.
Yeah.
Get the sun out of here. I'll be, you know, Dracula for Halloween probably.
Okay, there you go.
Damn, that's actually a solid costume.
You do that.
I could do that.
I was thinking either cowboy or Maui.
Yeah. Damn. I might do that or like a hot dog costume. A glizzy costume, as they call it.
If we do that, I'm going to draw a handlebar mustache for.
Dude, do you think you could grow it out?
Oh yeah, 100%.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, my facial hair grows very fast.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. But the hair up here grows really fast. I'm getting a haircut tomorrow.
It's funny. My friends always say like that I'll walk away being like relatively clean shaven and then come back with like a different facial hair. I remember as a kid growing up, this is like a funny story because my friends always say like, we know you're your dad's son because my dad can do the same. My dad has the same ability.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, my dad was a Marine, so he always had to be clean shaven, like very clean cut, nice hair, all the stuff. And then one time he took a leave of absence for about a week, and whenever my dad would take leave, it was always like a big deal because that meant like my dad was home, we got to spend time with him, and that also usually meant that we got to go on a vacation. Okay. Dad didn't like take leave unless we were going to go on vacation. So when you're in the Marine Corps, you just can't grow out your facial hair, but when you're on leave, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I remember he came home. I swear I can't figure out how this worked out, but he was clean shaven because he had just gotten home, maybe a 5 o'clock shadow. He said, I'm gonna go take a shower. He went to shower before dinner. He came back and he had like a full handlebar mustache. And I still to this day, I have no idea how he did it.
That's amazing.
Like, I feel he just like looked in the mirror and focused really hard, and then it's like, poof. Yeah, he like Super Saiyan poofed it out.
I love that.
Yeah, so we have the same ability. But to go back to the podcast again.
Yeah, are we recording still?
I don't know. You were talking about transportation and how you were worried that you'll bring in this car, you'll love the car and everything, but your baseline level of happiness isn't going to increase forever as long as you have the car. It's going to dramatically go away. And unfortunately, research shows that it happens usually within 10 minutes to 10 days.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Especially when you're blowing, I know you were like looking it up. I don't even know how much the car is.
I saw $55,000 to $60,000 for the base models.
Okay. That's a lot.
You can do it.
I could do it. But it's just like.
You could do it, but that's what we're going to focus on actually right now.
I love that.
So, there, segue. And that's actually tackling the big 3 spending categories. And this is what I like to call as your fixed costs.
Okay.
And I always talk about being relentless on your fixed costs because the moment that you bring something into your life, like that Model Y Tesla, you can't unsee it, or you can't imagine getting rid of it is like saying cut off your arm.
Yeah.
It's
It'd
doable.
be painful.
It's doable. But without you having the Tesla, are you happy right now with your car?
I don't drive. See, it's like there's no utility in the Tesla. Like my car works.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Like my car works, it does its job, it leaks a little oil, but it starts, it drives me here.
Thank you for parking on the street and not in my driveway.
Yeah. The first day we got, he's like, you can park in the driveway. I was like, I'm good.
I'll park it.
Yeah. I don't want to be out here in 110 scrubbing your concrete.
My old friend, his car that you'll see in the middle of my driveway. There's like a big old spot. It was his car, and I came home like, damn it. Damn it.
Oh,
I need to seal this now.
Yep.
But it's okay. But yeah, so again, back to fixed costs. Right now, what we're going to focus on, and we're actually going to do a full podcast on this on the next one, but I just want to touch upon it now. The big three spending categories that add to your fixed costs. Number one is housing.
Yes.
Number two is number two is food.
Gotcha.
And the third one we were just talking about is transportation.
Yep. Cars, gas,
all that stuff.
Yeah.
On average, American households spend between these three categories of housing, food, and transportation, 67% of their income is going to just those three categories.
Good God. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Housing, obviously, is the most.
Housing is often going to be someone's biggest expense. So, being able to have that. And we're going to talk about that in the future. I know something you're really excited about is talking about different real estate things. I have a lot to talk about there too, but I want you to lead that one. But I have a pretty scary statistic from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The average household earnings in 2022 was $94,000.
That's good.
That's amazing.
That's a lot. That's how much a month? That's like...
Oh, I don't know. You're asking me to do math real fast.
Yeah, I know. I like to spring those things on them every now and again, keeping them sharp.
Yeah. So after taxes, that's the important thing. So after taxes, if you make $94,000, depending on what state you're in, I'm going to say on average is about $71,000 of your actual take home.
Okay.
So that would mean that you're bringing in around $5,916. It's like $6,000 a month is what you're bringing in. Now, here's the scary part. You're bringing in $6,000 a month to get you to that.
And that's after taxes.
That's after taxes.
I want to make that clear so you don't go after my boy in the comments saying the math is off or anything like that. $94,000 minus the taxes, which is the $71,000.
He's getting $71,000 after taxes.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the average American spending is actually $73,000. So we have a $2,000 deficit every year. So costing us just to live costs us $2,000. Therefore, we're not saving any money.
No.
We're never going to reach FI.
No. So you're saying the average makes 71, spends 73.
Mm-hmm. And of those 73, 25,000 is going to housing, 13,000 is going to transportation, 10,000 is going to food. Good. To make that 67% going just to your fixed costs in those three categories.
Good God.
So we're going to talk about this more on the next podcast.
Definitely.
I don't want people to focus, and I know there's so many different financial figureheads out there again saying, just cut out the coffee. If you cut out $5 of Starbucks coffee a day, you're going to be financially independent.
Yeah.
Will it help? 100% it'll help.
Yeah.
But cutting out $5 of coffee is not going to equate to cutting out 67% or $25,000 of a mortgage.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we can't eliminate transportation, we can't eliminate housing, we can't eliminate food, but we can dramatically reduce them by focusing on the $1 million questions rather than the 3-cup coffee.
Yeah, and I think that's one thing that you actually taught me last podcast when we were talking about the target thing. It's like, we're not trying to make $5 decisions. We're trying to make, $60 decisions. Yep. They're, many multiples higher than, don't worry about the small stuff. Let's worry about the big stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's super key. And making conscious financial choices as well.
It's what it all comes down to, right? Again, it always comes down, I've said 1,000 times, it's your systems, your habits, your beliefs that's going to make you financially independent. It's going to make you good with money. Yeah. Unfortunately, I've actually had more recently now that we're doing the podcast, people are coming to me and asking for help. And one thing that I hear a lot is, I'm just not good at money. I'm not good at money. I'm not good at money. And I have to tell people, stop saying that.
Yep.
You're creating your own reality, by saying that over and over again. You argue with money. Everyone knows what they have to do. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows I need to make more money. I need to spend less. Yeah. But by telling yourself, I'm not good at this, you're giving yourself an out. Yeah. You're not taking extreme ownership.
God. Yeah. No, it's so important what you tell yourself. Oh, yeah. It's so important. I was doing these stretches at the gym and I was unbelievably off balance. Every time I'd stretch, I'd almost tip over, and I'm a fairly balanced person. And I was like, what is going on? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell myself I'm the most balanced person on this whole planet. I never tipped over again. I thought that was so interesting. And I started tipping over again, and then I was like, I'm the most balanced person. I'm like, And it's what you tell yourself is super important. If I tell myself, I'm a loser, I'm a terrible podcast host with Chris, I spill oil all over his driveway, I'm a terrible person. Yeah. I'm going to believe it, Or if I tell myself, we're the best podcasters in the world. We are the absolute best. There's no one better. There's no one who can get this kind of dynamic duo like we have it. And we're great. We're doing better. We're putting out more podcasts than ever. We're killing it. We're doing our best. It's like, it affects you. How you speak to yourself affects you. And how you talk about, I'm not good with money. No, you can be good at money. I am good at money. I can be good at money. I will be good at money.
Yeah.
And promising yourself and keeping your promise that you can be good at money is super important.
Yeah. I mean, what you tell yourself is all it. I mean, just from a jiu-jitsu standpoint, I remember the first tournament I ever did. I went in and there's different jiu-jitsu gyms. And I go to Gracie Barra, and Gracie Barra is very regimented as to when you're going to get your next belt, your next promotion, within a range.
Yeah.
But there are other gyms, unfortunately, that they're not like that. So, a white belt from Gracie Barra might have been a white belt for a year to a year and a half. But there are other gyms that a white belt is a white belt for 6 or 7 years. So there's a huge difference in there. So I remember with my first tournament I ever did, it wasn't a Gracie tournament. It was just all competitions.
Anyone, yeah.
So I remember I met with the guy who I was going to compete with, and I'm sitting there. We're in the bullpen. We're waiting to go. I've did wrestling before, so this is not a new feeling to me that having to go out there and fight somebody.
Yeah.
But I remember I looked at him and I was like, "How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu for?" And we're having fun and we're talking, and he's like, "Oh, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 7 years." And I was like, "Oh shit," because I've only been doing jiu-jitsu for like 6 months at the time, and I remember in my mind I automatically said, "This guy's going to kill me."
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna lose. And I ended up losing only by 1 point. So no one got a tap. He only passed or 3 points actually. He passed my guard once. But it was that mindset of like, damn it, like he's gonna destroy me. So now, and I knew this from wrestling, is like, don't talk to your opponent before the match.
Yeah.
So the next tournament I went ahead and went into.
And you know what? He might have just been lying.
He might have been lying.
He might have been lying.
He might have. He was good though. But still,
yeah, he was good. But it's like
he beat me up.
The psychological aspect of it was so real.
Yeah, it was. And
even to yourself, you said, "Oh, this guy's gonna kill me."
Yep.
And
then unfortunately it happened, and I lost that tournament. I ended up taking a bronze in that tournament, and I was like, oh, that sucked. So I was like, I need to redeem myself while I was still a white belt.
Yeah.
My last competition as a white belt, it was the Arizona State Nationals for Gracie only, and I went there and. I didn't talk to I always say hi to my opponent.
Of course,
and I'm very courteous. But during the bullpen, I just sat there and I meditated and I focused on me and I basically did what you said. I'm the best. I'm the best. Am I the best at jiu-jitsu? Hell no.
No.
People are going to destroy me. I know that. But if I just tell myself that, and I was actually able to take gold on that competition.
I love it. And it's not that you just told yourself; you believed it. You believed it, and that is so powerful.
Yep.
Gold. That's awesome.
Gold on that one.
Let's go. I love that. I love that. I gotta get into jiu-jitsu.
Like I said, I'll get you out there. We'll go have some fun.
He's gonna snap me.
But yeah, I mean, just continue to make good decisions and work on your mindset. Your mindset dictates all things.
Absolutely.
Nothing is good or bad, but thinking makes it so.
And saving and investing is the difference. Between paying off debt or having debt forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's just focusing on that and being mindful. Don't let your expenses increase. Don't let your expenses increase as your income increases. Or even worse, don't let getting rid of one debt stop that pressure and then make you bring on a new debt because you feel like, oh, I'm starting to get sad again.
Yeah.
Focus on the 3 things that actually do bring joy in life. Or go back to our first podcast of the FI Crash Course of understanding your why.
Yeah.
And we had a homework assignment of write down the things that truly bring you joy in life and see, is your money spending correct to what you really love to do?
Yeah, and closing that gap from, your expenses and getting those expenses down and making more money. And I know we talked a little bit about side hustles and stuff like that, and I think we're going to talk a little bit next podcast on that as well. It is possible. I always try to say, like every podcast, like what we talk about is not theory.
Nope.
We've done it. We both have done it in one form or another. We're only talking about things that have worked before. This isn't, I'm not telling you how to build a rocket. We're just talking about, decreasing expenses, increasing income, asking for a pay raise, switching jobs, controlling those fixed expenses, spending money on things that are actually going to fulfill you and go towards your why, and spending money on things that are important to you, like the charity work you do. That's important to you. It's like if all came down and you had to cut expenses, I don't think you would cut it because it's so important to you
Yeah.
that, I can go without Chipotle for a week,
Yeah.
or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever.
Or worst comes to worst, if I didn't have the money to maybe give to the charity, I still have my time.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
I could
exactly.
maybe instead of giving money to it, I could give my time. Like that's something that's available, and I value my time substantially more than I do my money.
Absolutely, because you can always make more money. You just can't make more time.
Nope.
No. To finish off with a staggering statistic for today's podcast, the total consumer debt in the U.S., take a guess. What do you think it is? High or low? It is about $4.1 trillion with a T.
Trillion.
Trillion.
And that's only in consumer debt.
Consumer debt.
Yep,
Yeah.
So that's the people.
The people. That's not businesses.
Nope.
That's not the government. Good God, the government's like 30 trillion. Don't even talk. If the government was a person and they were spending how they're spending, there would be no hope.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least we can print money. And I'm not gonna get into it.
If you want to get into like factual reserve, and we can go into all that.
I would love actually to make a podcast about that because I'm so interested in learning about that.
Yeah, it just gets very difficult because once you start talking about like M1 and M2 money supplies, people are like, I don't know what these guys are saying anymore, and it just sounds like we're just talking about bullshit.
Gotcha. Maybe it'll be off the record pod.
Yeah, well, we can do it. Maybe
We'll figure it out.
Maybe we'll do like a Five Guys advanced.
Advanced.
Because I want this to be something readily available to everyone.
For the people.
But yeah, so this week's action step, where we're always about action steps, is go ahead and let's do this equation together. Write down your income. From 2 podcasts ago, we should have already been tracking our expenses. So let's times that by 12. Hopefully we've gotten about a few weeks in.
Yep.
Let's times that in and let's see what our savings rate is.
Yeah.
Is it positive? Is it negative? If we're not having a savings rate, we know there's something to fix, and let's start working on that.
And is there a percentage? I know we talked a little bit last podcast about how much you would have to save to get to your financial number. If you save 100%, you're there. If you save like 50%, all that.
So-
What's your number that you're trying to save every month?
50% of my income.
50%. Okay.
So my wife and I, we try to live off one income.
I love that, and that's how it should be for couples, honestly.
And then on average, if you were to save 50% of your income, you reach FI in 17 years.
It's not bad.
But again, 50% of if I was to tell most people, like you have to save 50% of your income, they're going to be like, that's impossible.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like that big, hairy, audacious goal. Shoot for the moon and come up short. But hey, if that sounds scary to you, start with 5. Start with 3. Start wherever you are. Just start.
Yeah.
And then once you know that I can survive at saving 5%, go to 6%.
Yep.
Go to 7%. It's these baby steps that are going to get us to win.
Absolutely.
Talking about winning, I think it's time for Win of the Week.
Win of the week.
Win of the Week.
We need like a jingle for win of the week.
Can we get one? Can you do that?
We can look into that.
Okay, I don't know.
We can look into it. We'll look into it. Chris, what is your win of the week?
So my Win of the Week, as you guys know, I'm a financial advisor, and at the time of recording, we are we're in October, so we're moving into Q4 of 2023. So I've recently brought on a lot of new clients from my surge at the beginning of the year. That's actually how I met Dom and met his mom and everything. But I brought on some newer clients as well, and I was asking those clients, can I get your guys' 2022 tax returns, and do I have permission to contact your CPA? And my client said, yeah, of course, you can totally do that. She's like, but why do you need to contact my CPA? And I was like, well, it's part of my process. I want to make sure that as a fiduciary, I'm always working in your best interest and doing everything. And she sent me this amazing email that I'm going to read. Chris, we deeply value your dedication, effort, and the time you are devoting to managing our financial matters. The progress we've witnessed so far has been truly remarkable, and we cannot express enough gratitude for the positive impact you've made in our financial situation. Meeting you has been a significant beneficial milestone, and we eagerly anticipate continued progress with your guidance. Warm regards from my client.
I love that. That's beautiful.
And that's what I do this all for. Like obviously I get paid for it. I'm not going to say that I do this just for
charity,
good feels, but this does mean more to me to know that there is someone out there for I call it the SWAN system. SWAN stands for sleep well at night. Yeah. So that's what I work with my retirees. So that's the biggest thing, that as we create investment plans, everything, it's about sleeping well at night and not maximizing what's going to be best optimally financially, what's going to be best for you as an individual so that you can live the best life that you can.
Absolutely. I think that's super amazing. Getting a lot of, exposure to the podcast and reaching a lot of people is nice, but when you get a comment like that, and I know I've gotten it on plenty of my videos where like your video has brought me so much joy. Like I remember when I came back from my Minnesota trip, some of my viewers they were like, "We're so excited, we're so happy that you're back," and it's just like, it's beautiful to impact people.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Impacting people to make their lives better.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I saw a comment from one of our videos where someone was saying like, how are these guys not bigger? Like, I love this stuff.
I love that.
I immediately was like, love.
Yep. That's getting pinned. I love it.
So what's your win of the week?
My win of the week is I was talking with my mom and she was saying she's like, I've saved up about $10,000 for the year, and she's like, that was kind of like one of her goals at the beginning of the year. She's like, I'd like to save up just like an extra $10,000 just for emergency fund or whatever. And she saved it up, and she's like, but now what do I do, And I was like, you should put it in a high yield savings account. She's like, yeah, why didn't I think about that? And I was like, yeah, so we're gonna end up moving her $10,000 from the checking, where it's a little bit too liquid in the checking.
Okay.
You can kind of touch it and get after it. But we're gonna move it to high yield savings, and I'm actually gonna do the same, and I'm gonna create a crisis fund for myself.
Okay.
And move my stuff into a high yield savings as well. So win of the week is we'll be opening up a high yield savings account.
Cool. Do you know what bank you're going to go to yet or anything like that?
I'm not sure. I hear a lot of good stuff about the SoFi ones. That's like 5% for high yield savings, which I love. But no, I'm not dialed into too much yet. Not yet. You know what I mean?
Another option is if you want it, you can always open up a brokerage account. I use Vanguard personally. For my clients, I use Charles Schwab, and I use Schwab for my other stuff too.
Yeah.
But you can actually go with Schwab, and the Schwab has a money market account that it's paying like 4%. Again, it's in a brokerage account, but it's still safe. It's not FDIC insured.
So if you have like your money on the sidelines, not trading it.
It's not trading. It's in a money market account
Okay.
where it's just going to continue to grow that way.
Yeah, that's definitely an option.
I'll show you the ticker symbol, and you can make a decision. I have like 10 grand in it right now.
Nice. I do have some money sitting on the sidelines waiting for this market to ever crash, which it like never does.
That's where a lot of my real estate money is there.
It's in the 5% stuff. Yeah, I have some money sitting on the sidelines, and I'm just like, it's just not doing anything, I want some skin in the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But
I think we should do a little review of what we talked about.
Absolutely,
We'll kind of talk
yeah,
about a few things, and then we'll close it out, huh?
I love it.
So on this pod, first thing we talked about was the fundamental equation for building wealth, which is income minus expenses equals your savings. Your savings is your driver to FI.
Absolutely.
Without that savings, it's not going to be anything, which unfortunately we did touch upon that most American households are bringing in $71,000. They're spending $73,000. They have no savings. In fact, they're going into debt every year. Every year costs them more and more money, and they're just digging that hole a little bit deeper every month.
Yeah, and we talked about strategies to increase your income, asking for a raise, providing value to your company, gig economy stuff, picking up extra shifts, or even moving jobs, leveling up to the next area.
Yeah, I've definitely made, when I was working a 9-to-5 job, I definitely made decisions to move from company to company. And it's hard because you build up loyalty, but what I had to come to the thought of is I might have loyalty to this company, but does this company have loyalty to me? Likely not.
Likely not.
Yeah.
We also talked about reducing expenses for a wider savings gap. Very important. The other half of the true money equation.
Yep. And then we talked about tackling the big three expenses, which again were housing, food, and transportation. The entire next pod is going to be dedicated to these three major fixed costs because like we said, 67% of people's household income on average is going to these three. So I say we focus on these three rather than focusing on the $2 latte.
Absolutely. And that's it's kind of nice because I don't drink coffee, but if I did, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get behind
You
that.
can do whatever you want. Whatever brings you joy. If that coffee brings you joy, get it.
Yeah.
And then the final thing we talked about was the importance of making conscious choices for financial freedom.
Yep, definitely. Well, I think that'll be it on today's podcast. Thanks for stopping by, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, got something out of it, and yeah, I'll see you in the next week.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and I hope you got some enlightening information from this episode. Mastering finances and achieving financial independence is not an easy journey, but it just starts at one step at a time. So please stay tuned, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next course of the FI crash course, and
Yep.
we'll be here for you guys. Please send anything inside the comments. We are thinking about doing another
Guys
segment.
Friday. Yep.
Another segment where we'll be answering listener questions. So we
Yep.
really look forward to that.
Yeah, that's gonna be exciting.
I'm really excited.
I can't wait for that. But till then, guys, we'll see you when we see you. Later.
Shaka.